Thank you for joining us and welcome to Better Together Live, where we create helpful community connections when it matters most. I am Yamile Bowman, your host and the Community Relations Coordinator here at TherapyWorks. Today, I'm very happy to be joined by Shauna Prete from RESULS Food Coaching. Thank you, Shauna.
Hi, thank you for having me. I'm excited to be here today.
Awesome. Just to give you a little bit of idea what's Better Together, it's we started Better Together Live to highlight local resources like RESULS Food Coaching to offer expanded access to support for our local community. With mental health on the rise, it is important for us that our community is well informed, and also it is very important that they understand that good nutrition is very helpful for also to improve mood changes, right? So before I start with all these questions, tell us a little bit about yourself.
Yeah, great. Thank you. So I am a registered dietitian nutritionist and certified LEAP therapist. I've been in the field of nutrition for over a decade, which is kind of crazy when I say it.
You're very young.
Right? I also have a background in psychology, which I find very much helps with coaching and food therapy. I would say I've had a pretty varied experience in the places that I've worked. So I've worked as a retail dietitian, in blogging, in bariatrics, and I've currently landed in a space that I love, private practice for results food coaching. A little bit about my philosophy is I think that the relationship we have with food is just as important as the foods that we're eating. So as I work with clients, I really try to hone in on that relationship and see how we can improve that if it needs improvement, and kind of just meet people where they're at. Outside of nutrition world, when I'm not wearing that hat, I am a wife and mother to energetic kids. Like, definitely keep me on my toes.
Yeah.
Love being outdoors. So whether it's snowboarding or hiking, and I love to read, and forever a learner. So I feel like I'm always, whether it's a course or reading up on new materials, I love just to dig my teeth into new stuff.
I love that. Yes. Never ending, right?
That is so true.
Yeah. So when you talk about food coaching, can you tell us a little bit about what is Results Food Coaching? What do you guys do?
Yeah, great question. So we're an awesome team of dietitians. So we have that kind of science background, but just because you have a science background, that doesn't always translate into helping people make behavior change. Mm-hmm. So at Results Foods Coaching, how I believe that we're pretty unique is that we're really good at, first off, making sure that the client and the dietitian are a good fit. You know, we have several people on the team. Mm-hmm. So if someone doesn't feel like a good fit for me, there's usually somebody else,
yeah,
hand off to, because that relationship's really important. So we basically provide virtual accountability and coaching. Mm-hmm. And it could be to individuals, to couples, to families. And we focus a lot on what are the small changes, what feels manageable in the moment right now, and how do we help our clients achieve that, as opposed to larger lifestyle overhauls, mm-hmm. which tend not to be as sustainable in the long run.
Because it's a scary, I don't know if it's the right word, but it's, you know, when you feel, okay, you need to be on a diet. Nobody wants to be on a diet, right? Because the fact that somebody tells you you cannot eat that, it wants you to want to eat that. So it's just how you manage that, how you motivate people.
Yeah, no, I love that question. And I think different dietitians have different approaches. Yeah. So first and foremost, like I said, making sure you're aligned, your philosophy is aligned with who you're working with is really important. That kind of gets a lot of things out of the way before you get started. And I think that motivation piece is important. And some things that I think work towards that motivation is, one, meeting the client where they're at, right? Mm-hmm. So yes, I have this great background of nutrition information, but if I go there with an agenda, right, and say, okay, this is what I want my client to learn and walk away with, and this is the list of what you can't do, you know, I'm forcing that client to bend to me, those changes won't really be sustainable. So really trying to say, okay, what's life throwing at you? Where are you? And then as the coach, basically stepping in and saying, you're the expert of you, I'll be the guide. Let's troubleshoot and see where you're getting stuck. and let's educate when you need the education and bounce ideas off of me. So kind of letting the client be the guide.
Mm-hmm.
And you also brought up a really, really great point. There's a lot of negative connotations with diets and making behavior changes in the health sphere. And I think it's important to kind of recognize that. I practice as an dietitian, so I don't believe that people have to cut out foods. I don't believe food groups are bad or anything like that. And the focus of my practice is more on the behavior change and a more well-rounded look at what health is, as opposed to your weight equals your health and your health is your value. And I think that takes starting from a place of compassion and looking at, well, is the goal perfection here? Because a lot of times we're really hard critics on ourselves and we have to do it perfect or else we feel like we fail. So I hope clients kind of work through that, because it's very much in the media and a lot of different ways. Like, you must be this way to be doing it right.
To be perfect, to be, the right way. I know.
Exactly. So oftentimes I lead with progress, not perfection. And that kind of forces clients to get curious about, hey, what does health mean to me? What are my goals? What are my values? And are my actions in line with my values? And through that curiosity, we can better goal set and bring an alignment to the actions and the values, which when people feel that connectedness, that's motivating.
And you touch a good point saying the media, right, has this picture perfect person, which is not the real thing, right? Size 2, size 0, size 4, I don't know, that's not a perfect picture. And I know you guys work a lot with people with eating disorders. Can you talk to me a little bit about that?
Yeah.
How's your approach to that?
Disordered eating and eating disorders, definitely a spectrum, and you could see a lot of different things. But again, it goes back to that piece about that relationship that we have with food. Is very important.
Very important.
And you know, I feel like a bulk of my practice is, you need to have a certain education on what to eat to have the confidence to make the changes. But the how and the becoming more connected with your body and the mindfulness piece of, am I hungry? Am I full? Do I have to eat because I have a meeting and I won't be able to?
Right.
That's really important to kind of evening out our thoughts about food.
Recognize when you're hungry, and I understand, like mindfulness, right?
It's a very large practice of what I do. And then in the eating disordered field, it's not just about food. There's sometimes a lot of mental health concerns underneath, or the disordered eating is a coping mechanism. So we can't just take that away and expect that, all of a sudden this person with an eating disorder is better. There's a lot of support that needs to be in place there.
Correct. This is lovely. I love it. What does digestive disorders look like, and why do so many people have digestive problems? Including me. What's going on? What are we eating that is destroying our good bugs?
It's interesting, right? Millions of people are affected.
Totally.
And it runs the gamut. Like you said, there's disorders. So you can have a diagnosis, you can have irritable bowel, or you can have a lactose intolerance. Something very diagnosable. Okay, we see this and here's X, Y, and Z we can do to help. But we can also just be struggling with difficult symptoms. So some people, it's, hey, I have gas and bloating after eating, right? So either way, whether disorder or symptoms, it's very disruptive to life.
Absolutely.
Very frustrating to deal with. And sometimes without the help of a professional, you wind up falling into the trap of, I need to diet, I need to cut out certain things. And then all of a sudden we're thinking about food more and we're stressing food more, which in turn stress, very powerful in how it impacts our body. And it can kind of be this cycle that, I'm stressing about my digestive issues, which is causing more digestive issues, which is causing stress. So yes, stress is one of the reasons. It can run the gamut on the reasons. Some people have autoimmune. There can be medications that you're taking. that impact your digestive tract, aging. So a number of different reasons, and it can look different for different people.
You hit a point there. I remember talking to my GI a few years ago, and he said, physically, you don't have anything. And because I'm always complaining, you know, oh, my stomach. And he's like, you never know what triggers what, your brain or your gut. They work together, he said. They work together. If you're happy in your gut, you're going to feel happy in here. I swear, he's exactly that. What you just said, he said it to me. And I do believe it's true. Yeah.
It is very true. It's very interconnected system for sure. And I think also knowing that 60 to 80% of our immune system in our gut is powerful too. Yeah.
I read some articles a couple weeks ago that actually they're saying, right, happy gut, it will help people with depression. Like you have to boost your good bacteria, take care of your good bacteria. You're probably going to improve also the mood. So,
for sure, it's a very fascinating field. I look at it how in the past when they did the GI mapping and like the genetic code mapping, we learned about DNA. They're just now going through that with the bacteria in our gut and the millions of them that there are. And we're just learning, you know, which bacteria does what to the body. And so it is fascinating, and they're finding these connections and, you know, just the positivity of, hey, that just offers us more jumping off points to how we can look at these things and provide relief from any symptoms that are going on.
It never ends. You're going to be learning all your life.
Forever. There's not enough time in the day.
Right? Exactly. This is awesome. You talk about the LEAP. You're a certified LEAP therapist. What do LEAP therapists do?
Yeah, great question. Thank you for asking. So first off, LEAP stands for Lifestyle, Eating, and Performance. And LEAP therapists all have to have a science background, a degree, bachelor's of science. Basically, we work with clients who have been experiencing a number of symptoms from inflammatory conditions. So whether it's migraines or joint pain, diarrhea, fatigue, a lot of different symptoms. And oftentimes these clients have been suffering for a long time, have gone to a lot of doctors, not really having a lot of answers or relief, and kind of throw their hands up in the air, like, what can I do?
What can I do?
So as a LEAP therapist, what I do is I utilize a test, which is called a mediator release test. And what that does is it quantifies the immune system reaction to different foods and chemicals. So foods that have low to no reaction the body doesn't really mount a big immune response to, where foods that maybe have a high to moderate, or moderate to high, I should say, reaction to, clients will wind up feeling symptoms because there's this inflammatory process going on. So this test provides, you get your blood work done, and it tests 170 different foods and chemicals.
Oh, wow.
I'll get that information back, and those foods are ranked. And as the LEAP therapist, what I do is I go through with the client and we make a meal plan based off of, hey, here are your non-reactive foods. You know, you're really suffering, you've got these symptoms. Let's go with the foods that we know aren't causing this inflammatory response. So we bring down the symptoms, but we don't just stop there, because to tell a client, hey, here's 40 foods for the rest of your life, anybody's going to say, no way too restrictive, and rightly so. So after we get the symptom management under control, we progress the diet forward in a very systematic way. So this way we could say, okay, I ate on Thursday, I had a headache. Let me look back to Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday. What new food did I eat that may have triggered the migraine? And we do a little retest, and we can very much more pinpoint which foods are kind of the culprits and trigger the symptoms in the individuals, with the ultimate goal of how do we have the most variety in our diet while maintaining that symptom management.
Oh, wow. And this is just by checking your blood?
Yes.
And other things, or just your blood?
There's also other lifestyle things, like you need to make sure
like
that
samples
you're having
and,
enough fluid and things like that. But the basis of, or how we move forward with the meal plan and the roadmap, is really starting off of those low reactive foods, because we know it's not, your immune system isn't releasing these chemicals that travel in the travel in your blood to your brain and cause a migraine, or travel to your joint and cause joint pains. So we're really able to get that inflammation down.
Yeah. Wow. That's super interesting.
Yeah. And it's
fascinating.
It's really nice to hear like the client testimonials and see the results and actions that people who have been suffering for a long time get relief.
Yeah. And I mean, my next question was, I did ask this question earlier, how you keep your clients motivated, but I guess I will ask you again, because when you see results, if I'm your client, if I see results, I need to be patient, because it's not going to show in a week or 3 days, right? It's going to probably, I don't know, a month, but you have to keep me motivated. What do you do? Like,
well, I think that's giving me too much credit, right? Like if you're saying I have to motivate you, I think that, again, the client is the expert. So something with like the leap, a lot, for some clients, they experience those symptoms go away right away. They feel better right away. Sometimes there's a little bit more troubleshooting, but when you feel good after a period of suffering, that's very, very motivating. I would say the bulk of my practice is more, like I mentioned, focusing on how do we work on this relationship with food. And that's less tangible in the sense of how do I measure that, right? And like you mentioned, that slower change. And keeping that motivation, I think sometimes is having a conversation about, well, what is health? Like, how are you putting it into action? Because if health for you is I'm following whatever you tell me or whatever I read in the news, and I expect to see a result in my life change overnight, you're living to somebody else's goal as opposed to really figuring out what's important for you and jumping off from there. Because once you have that alignment and that awareness of this is what I'm working towards, I think that's where you build in the action steps where, okay, maybe it's not a huge overhaul, but guess what? I'm able to notice when I'm hungry and I'm full and I no longer overeat. And that feels really good, as opposed to the scale has to move.
Yeah.
So it's kind of redefining what health is, I think, sometimes.
I love that. And you know, one of the, I think the important things is that we need to understand, like you were saying earlier, right? We are different from the people we see, right? There's so many different diets out there, from keto to caveman to, like, I don't know, I can't even think anymore because there's so many. So I think experts like you, that's why we need more, to talk to experts like you, so you guys can guide us where to go. This way.
And I think it can be also refreshing to hear. A lot of times we try these programs or diets, and if they don't work out, we're left feeling like the failure, instead of saying, the research shows 95% of diets fail. We're not the failure. The problem is the diet. And sometimes we need to hear that. And sometimes, you know, some people will never be able to embrace that, but still to be offered a different way or a different viewpoint, you know, for some people is very empowering.
It is. This is very good. I know that a lot of women over 40, they have a lot of more digestive issues. Is that hormonal related?
Yeah, so in general, across the board, aging brings on some new challenges, right?
That's right. Good thing we're still in our 20s.
Woohoo! Woohoo! So very, you know, men and women both will experience some changes. Part of it can be changes in stress level. Could be changes in activity or fluid that change, you know, maybe how often we're going to the bathroom or how comfortable we're feeling with our digestive tract. As we get older, if different disease states pop up, sometimes we're put on medications that can have side effects. So oftentimes there's a chance of being on more medications that can cause it. But again, thinking changes in stomach acid or the enzymes that are required for digestion are all a part of the aging process, as well as the muscles involved change, and they can weaken as you get older. With women, you're right, there are also the hormonal changes that can have the impact on the digestive tract. So it's not uncommon to hear that. However, I think the beautiful thing is there's a lot of lifestyle interventions, right? Before we have to go off and change our life completely, there are some pretty basic things that we can rely on, like chewing our foods more slowly, making sure that we're getting in more fluid or making activity and gentle movement a priority. And then if that doesn't cut it and people are still experiencing digestive concerns, there are more complementary alternatives that you can look into as well. So yeah, although the digestive distress is not fun, there's options to help.
There are options, which is great. This is great. Shauna, this is such a great interview. Thank you so much. I want to be very respectful of your time, but is there anything else you would like to tell us?
I think maybe just if you want to hear more from me or hear more from the Results team, you can always visit our website. We're at resultsfoodcoaching.com. Our Instagram is at resultsfoodcoaching. And then on Facebook, we can be found under results.professional food coaching. But I really appreciate the time to chat with you, and thank you.
Thank you so much. And as for us, our philosophy here at Therapy Works is very, very simple. We are better together. Everything we do is in support of our community. If you want to learn more about us, go to mytherapyworks.com. Thank you so much, and have a wonderful rest of the day. I really appreciate it. Thank you.
You too.